Hey guys, we have here our window air conditioning unit, and in this video we want to explain to you what to do when the window AC is leaking water into the inside of your home. If you're lucky, you may be able to perform this task while the unit is still installed into the window, but in most cases it may be necessary to actually first deinstall it. But before actually taking your air conditioner apart, make sure that your unit is installed in a way that it is slightly sloping away from the building. Otherwise, it may simply be the case that the unit is installed incorrectly and the water just may have not the opportunity to flow to the outside. Okay, so we start out by first removing the front cover by just opening it up and then lifting it carefully upwards. Usually these are just hooked in. And then behind there we find here the air filter, and so let's remove this one next. In case your filter is really dirty, then I suggest this is a good time to actually clean this with some soapy water. Then we start to remove the rest of the front cover, and in order to do that we have here 3 Phillips screws, one on the right and then 2 on the left side. So let's remove all of those. And then the front cover is still clipped into position. So for example, here on the right side there's this little clip that we push into with a screwdriver, and then we can pop out the frame on that side. The left side is easier, you just tilt it to the left and then pull it off. And then there's a couple of more clips here on the top, and easy way to remove that is to press on the metal part and then pull off the plastic cover. Now in our case there's a couple of wires zip tied to the cover, so we're just going to let this hanging for the time being. Then the next step is to remove the rest of the housing, and in order to do that we have a whole bunch of Phillips screws that hold the housing to the frame. See this all around. That's actually 2 screws that you find on the bottom. So with this model we don't want to remove the 2 screws here on the back side on the bottom, but we do want to remove the ones on the top. And then of course there's more screws here on the opposite side. Now it is time to remove the cover, and for this I'm actually wearing some safety gloves because we want to prevent to get any cuts on the sheet metal. Also, of course, we want to make sure that at this point the AC unit is not plugged into an outlet anymore. Okay, and now at this point we can actually see what is happening with our window AC. In the front we have here the evaporator coil. This is where the humidity out of the air condenses and then eventually trickles down and collects at the bottom of the unit. And then here on the side there is a little channel that leads the water towards the outside, so towards the back of the unit, where in this case here it pools in this area where we find the most amount of dirt. You can see this here, can easily wipe this off. So this is where the water collects, and depending on how old your AC unit is, you may have these areas where the water pools, or if your AC unit is a little older then it may just have a drain hole where the water just drips out. And in case you do have this hole, you want to find this someplace on the back or on the underside. You want to make sure that this hole is open and the water can actually go out and that it's not clogged. And as I just mentioned, this unit does not have one of these drainage holes. In this case the water just pools inside until it eventually runs over this little lip here at the bottom. And the reason for that is when we take a look at the fan blades, right behind there you see this little ring that also rotates, and it has these little noses on there. And what happens is as the fan is spinning, these noses are going to splash water against the condenser coils, and this simply helps to cool them down more efficiently. But now let's check the path of the water from the front towards the back. And this is actually something you may be able to do without deinstalling the window AC from your window. When we take a look here from the back side, we see this little hole here in the styrofoam. If you have an older unit, this hole may be a lot smaller, which is why older units also tend to clog earlier or quicker. So, and we can't really see this here, but the entrance from the front side, that is over here on the right in the corner. So I'm just going to take this little piece of wire and I'm just going to push this through here, and this way we're making sure that this hole is not clogged, so this path is free and open. So just go back and forth a couple of times, make sure this is open and the water can flow freely towards the back. Yeah, and this is really all that we have to do. So at this point we can start to reassemble everything. First we start out by putting the cover back on. Make sure to push it all the way forward as far as it goes. Then you should be able to see the screw holes here in the backside and really easily attach those first. So that's the area where I start out at. And then I'm going to work my way forward, and of course on both sides. So make sure not to miss any of the screws. And also check if your screws come with these little rubber washers. I just noticed those later, and I almost lost a couple of those. So make sure if you have these washers, also make sure you don't accidentally lose them. The next step already is to put the front cover back on. I'm going to do this in the reverse order. So first we put the top end on, and then we clip in the sides and the bottom. Make sure they are nice and tight. Then we still should have a couple of screws left to screw on the front cover. Make sure it doesn't become loose. Now it's a good time to reinstall the air filter. This should be dry by now in case you washed it earlier. Just clip this in here. And then the front panel. This one also has these little noses on the bottom side. Those just go right into those holes that we see here on the bottom of the unit. Just line them up and clip them in, and then we can close the unit up. And this was already it. So this should have fixed our problem with the water leaking into the inside of our home. Hope you found the video helpful, and if you have any more questions or comments, then please leave a message below.